to kick things off for this show, this is sort of a special show in that we are talking about, instead of doing our normal, rundown of the news and current events and maybe a reading series, what we're doing on this episode is a little bit different. We're doing a single topic. And this was sort of inspired by something that we sort of came across accidentally last week, and then we thought it would be a good idea to do a show. This week's show is going to be all about the weird and wonderful worlds of conservative political cartoonists and cartoons.
It's the Chapo Comics Cavalcade.
Yeah, you guys are used to our smart shows where we, talk about the Noid, or we notice that a movie from 2006 is bad, but we're going to be having fun today.
We're going to cut loose and examine a genre of art. It's a subgenre. There is the category of newspaper editorial cartoons, which is already bad. No, they're known for being not funny, incredibly poorly drawn, and just generally the scribblings of sort of octogenarian cranks of all stripes. However, the conservative editorial political cartoon is a subgenre that I think can really best be compared to outsider art, sort of like the works of Henry Darger.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like if Henry Darger got really riled up about hip-hop knockout game thugs.
instead of
aliens
butterfly-like
small
girls
children
with male genitalia.
Yeah.
The thing that
Henry Eichenwald.
Well, the funny thing about the comparing Darger to conservative political cartoonists is that their understanding of human anatomy is similarly skewed
Yes.
and bizarre.
Yeah.
So we've compiled sort of we're going to take a sort of tour through what I think is sort of the masters of the form, some of the highlights of the best artists working in this genre, and I don't know, where do you want to start?
Well, Day by Day is fresher in our memories.
I think we should save Day by Day. I think
Yeah,
that's
okay.
that's our finale.
All right.
How about, you like this one. I want Dry Bones.
Okay, Dry Bones, dude. One of my
Okay.
favorites. One of my favorites.
I wasn't really familiar with Dry Bones.
It's
but
really simple. It's like a 2-word elevator pitch. Zionist Ziggy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's about a lonely old man who talks to his dog about Israel. The drawing style is incredibly simplistic, and many of them are single panels, and there's just no joke whatsoever. I've got a few right in front of me I think you'll enjoy. This one, he's of course he's against BDS. This guy is very, very, very pro-Israel. I think he was born in Brooklyn or something like
what
that.
do we know about the person? What is it? First of all, who's the guy who draws and creates Dry Bones?
I looked it up, but then I didn't care.
Jeffrey Goldberg.
Okay, here's one. Dry Bones. This one's called "Stop the BDS Bullying," and it's Ziggy. He's holding a man a much smaller man by the collar, and the man is holding signs that say "BDS, Jews out, boycott Israel, Jews out, BDS." Okay, so they repeat. And there's another title called "Fight Campus Anti-Semitism," and then a bubble that says, "If not us, then who? If not now, then when?" And there's a dog, and just the man's dog, and the dog has "Stop BDS" written on its chest.
Okay.
So that's the level of humor.
Well,
involved
there's a
here.
couple things going on here that I think are indicative. I want to drill down into the actual content of this, but I think there's a couple things in this single comic strip that's indicative of the genre at large. So you begin with the incredibly amateurish artwork. Then another very important thing about political cartooning is that everything has to be covered in words, because there can never be any question or ambiguity about what everything in the cartoon is supposed to represent. But what I like is that sometimes there are so many words, it muddles the meaning of it anyway.
It's so direct, you have to wonder if it's about something else. It's it says repeatedly Jews out, and it has some Holocausty language about, how terrible it is when people don't buy SodaStream. But it's just so in your face. You're like, are you sure this is what it's about? Because I don't know.
Well, first of all, why does the dog have "Stop BDS" written on him?
The dog who looks like Spuds McKenzie is against BDS also. It's very... Here you go, Matt.
He's a Likud dog.
And also, what is Dry Bones the name of the character? The sort of Ziggy looking
I don't
character?
actually understand the name, because dry is something that would refer to humor, but bones, is that also an old comedy term?
Dry bones is a condition you have after you're hit with white phosphorus for being anti-Semitic.
What the fuck does that even mean?
Well, the actual like speech bubble, which is again, it's not clear if it's a speech bubble. Like the words are like badly placed in it. They're connecting.
It could
with
be a poster.
The border of could be a thought bubble. It could be a speech bubble. It's not clear, but it is a reference to Primo Levi, which I think is also ironic because he was known late in his life for sort of turning on Israel during the first Lebanon War and then killing himself after a particularly mean commentary magazine piece. Whether the two are related or not, hard to say, but he took a lot of shit from right-wing Jews in America for, quote, turning against Israel.
If you'll notice here, the student being beaten up here, the BDS student, is wearing what appears to be like a medieval neck ruffle.
Oh, that is supposed to be a kafaya.
Yeah, it's a kafaya. But why does one guy have four posters?
Because no one's in BDS, and it's like a marginal movement of anti-Semites, and that's why we have to talk about it all the time and be terrified of it and make it illegal.
Can we go to let's look at
here's
another
a few more. He's also a big fan of Jonathan Pollard and thinks Jonathan Pollard should be freed. Here's one. This is Ziggy again talking directly to the audience.
Disgusting Eli Lake face directly into the camera.
I believe his name is Mr. Schuldig, and so this is captioned Mr. Schuldig's advice. The way for Trump to now save his trip to Israel is to bring Jonathan Pollard with him.
Isn't it Jonathan Pollard, first of all?
Pollard.
Jonathan Pollard.
Well, when is this?
It's Kafifi.
That's Kafifi. Yeah.
It's Kafifi.
Oh, check this out.
Okay,
Person of Kafaya.
And there's another one. This is a caricature of Pollard.
yeah.
That's the best art
picture
he's
ever
on.
put on one
No,
of these
that
things.
looks exactly like
Rob Reiner?
Yeah, Rob Reiner.
It looks like Rob Reiner.
I always thought
Wait a minute,
that,
that's not Rob Reiner?
No,
that's Jonathan Pollard.
That's Pollard.
I always thought Pollard looked like every guy who gets a lot of UTIs and like later they find child porn on his computer. That's
What are
like a
those
type
guys?
of guy.
That classic guy.
classic
Yeah, no,
type.
that is a type of guy.
Now,
if you lived your life more thoroughly, you would know that guy.
The UTI child porn guy.
Well, he just has like a UTI look in his face.
So, for those who maybe aren't, Jonathan Pollard was a guy who was convicted of spying on he was doing espionage on America. I think he leaked secrets to the Navy or something to Israel and was put in jail for it. Mm-hmm. And then he's been a sort of like lost cause for like the hard right and hard Jewish right in Israel and America.
Interesting thing about Pollard. So he stole nuclear secrets. The Israelis, it's not that they wanted them for themselves. They actually sold them to Russia, so Russia would do a population transfer of Jews, quote unquote, and just like losers who claimed that they like gefilte fish, who could claim Jewish, so they could offset Arab birth rates. Because, Zionism is normal. It's a regular thing to believe in. It's a regular thing to do. There's nothing wrong with Israel. You're anti-Semitic if you say it. The hardest thing you can be is just like a type of white person with a slightly different name who sometimes looks different, like your eyes look different. That is basically the same as being black. And if anyone ever says that it's wrong to steal nuclear secrets and, if you're a guy who has child porn on his computer and UTIs, to do that so you can have a population transfer to keep up your fucked up ethnocracy that's only existed for since 1948, then you're racist. Then you're like the same as the alt-right, and we'll never stop crying about it. We'll never stop crying about how we're the most oppressed minority, even though there are 70 horrible magazines where we can be like, how it's hard to be a Jew on Halloween.
Mm-hmm. Now, Virgil, for the Jonathan Pollard cartoon here, the caption that just restates what the first one says, but underneath it in parentheses, you just wrote Neil Hamburger voice.
Oh, right.
So would you like to read this?
The next one should be right. So he does
okay.
4-panel ones, and actually, Matt, you do a good Neil Hamburger. Could you do this one?
So what am I doing in this point?
Just read this comic to everyone in the Neil Hamburger voice.
Okay.
What are you doing?
Oh, sorry.
That one?
Yep, this
All
one.
right. Will, you do the other guy.
Okay.
So this is the guy with the newspaper talking to another guy. Neither one of them are the Ziggy, I should say. Egyptian exports to Israel are increasing daily.
That's nice.
Not really. What they're exporting to Israel is a flood of their unwanted African migrants.
Holy shit! No fucking way! This fucking rules, dude.
Now,
Oh my god!
is
spitting your bow tie. They're going. Would you drop muddy water into a pool?
can I do the other like? How can Donald Trump save his trip to Israel? Bring Jonathan Pollard with him.
Oh, dude, this is so fucking good.
Is Dry Bones? It's not syndicated in any newspaper. This is just a web.
It is. It's in the Jerusalem Post.
Oh God.
I love how there used to be like Jews were notorious for we were good at comedy, and now it's like this. That's how bad at being an ethno state is.
It's true. I mean, you can't make a stronger argument that Jews really need to be diaspora because American Jews, very funny. Israeli Jews, not at all.
Yeah, think
Not
about all the
at
funny American Jews like Sheldon Adelson, Chaim Saban, Jared Kushner,
Marty Perez.
Jeffrey Epstein, classic prankster Jeffrey Epstein.
Now-
Social experiment, secret plane. The social experiment going on a trip with Bill Clinton.
Now, you would say from the drawings that you've seen so far that this is very bad artwork. This is just terrible.
Awful.
Now, wait for this Trump caricature coming up.
Okay.
You will plot.
Oh, hell yeah, dude.
Right?
Oh my, no way.
That's not great.
Not good.
Pretty bad.
Folks, Dry Bones has skewered me. I will be stepping down.
I don't have the words to describe this. This is like an MS Paint drawing someone would make as a joke.
Can we create some sort of document that we can link?
We have to, because
should
otherwise
post all
this
of
is an
these.
insane
This also,
endeavor.
this should be a meme, frankly. This Trump. Did you get a
But
look
yeah,
at this?
no, we
Brendan?
absolutely need to put this out there, or else this is insane describing things.
Okay,
People
there
need to be
you-
able
there
to
you
look
go,
at them
Brendan.
while they're listening.
Okay.
Exactly. Follow-
So here is this this
Sing along with
Trump.
Mitch.
You have to look at this. I don't. I
It's
wouldn't be
hard
able to describe this.
It kind of looks like they left Donald Trump in a hot car.
No, it's like Peter Griffith. It's like somebody. It's
Peter
like
Griffin?
kind of-
Peter Griffith?
Peter Griffin.
I'm gonna
whatever.
send you to the
I don't
moon,
know. I don't
Lois.
watch that show. I don't know what his fucking name is. He's like Peter Griffin if they took the glasses off and gave him Donald Trump's hair.
Not even Donald Trump's hair. This is. It's like a surfer guy's hair.
To me, it
Yeah.
looks like how like on the new Apple Instant Messenger, you can like draw shit and send it as a text to people. This looks like it was drawn with a finger on a cell phone screen.
Well, okay, yeah, the art's not great, but you can't beat this comedy.
Yeah, let's read the caption.
yeah.
Read
This
the
is
caption.
amazingly
A
funny.
senior member of the Trump team told Israel that the Western Wall is part of the West Bank and not ours. Yet another advisor that Donald needs to fire.
Nailed
Oh
him.
my god.
Cha-ching.
Now, as bad as this one is, look at the next one. Look at the next Donald Trump here.
Holy shit, that's Hillary.
No, that's supposed to be
Hillary.
Trump.
No, that's Hillary.
Wait, no, that's got to be Hillary.
No,
That's
see,
Hillary.
read the caption.
Okay.
The swamp drainer asked the swamp things to vote for his proposals, and they wouldn't.
Yeah, that's gotta.
No,
be
the swamp
Hillary.
drainer is Trump.
It
Yeah, that is Trump, yeah.
It's
It
Trump
looks
with
like Hillary.
That's Trump.
No, that's Trump wearing lipstick, it
Yeah.
appears.
And with Hillary's hair.
Oh, so you're saying Trump is taking hormones since he's been in Washington. This is very like blue velvet.
Okay,
I like
it.
these swamp creatures that just look like turds with teeth. It's once again really good art.
Well, not just the art, but this gets to another trope of the genre, which is the unbelievable lack of anything even resembling humor, a joke, or a punchline.
Nope.
Like it again, very inscrutable. What's
Yeah.
being done here?
Yeah, and Mallard Fillmore is similar to that.
Yeah, I mean, everyone says like humorless SJWs and like, yeah, all the 5 billion webcomics about like a girl with an uneven haircut who like yells at guys those aren't good, but they have punchlines. Like the
They
punchline,
do try to be funny.
Yeah, the punchline is like, well, why don't you go read Fight Club, fuck ass? But one of those compound swears. But it has a setup, a build, and then a payoff.
Yeah,
but this
like-
is just like a guy yelling at you.
Compound swears.
this is
are
a guy
the
who
lowest
looks-
form of comedy, but at least it's an attempt.
This
at
is
comedy.
like if you've ever had an older relative who demands you go on birthright for some reason. It's the same
have not
type of
had that.
experience.
Not-
yes,
I've never had that.
You're Jewish. Your
No.
last name
Right.
is Jewish.
Well, he's consistently mad about the UN. He thinks Gazans are rabid dogs that should be starved. You know, he's pretty standard middle of the road stuff. He's a radical moderate.
moderate,
Yeah. This next one, you'll have to explain this to me because this is the most forgot to tell a joke.
Let me put on my
so far.
Chabad
Sorry,
hat.
real quick before you do that one, as you were scrolling through, I just saw one where it's just a single panel. It's just the old looking Ziggy, and he's just saying, the state of Jordan is Palestine.
No, that's the one I was going to
Oh,
show
okay.
right here.
No, that's the Zionist argument.
Yeah.
Is that the Palestinians just need to be absorbed into the country.
Jordan is Palestine. Gaza is Egypt.
That's-
And he's,
that-
like, shrugging.
That's like saying, well, actually, it's not like saying, because this is correct, we don't need Israel because we have Long Island. I mean, that's true, but the Jordan thing isn't.
So this is like a big argument they made. I don't even.
Yeah, it's
understand
it's
the
like you less hear it in fervent Zionists. I mean, you hear it in those, but the people who make this argument the most are like American Ned Flanders evangelicals. Like that's a real Christian thing because they like sort of like weird misinterpretations of Old Testament geography, and they're like, you know, they're very nice. They'll like give you cookies if your house burns down, but then they're like, the Palestinians can go live in Jordan, and
most refugees are in Jordan, so they say, why don't you just put them all there?
yeah, PFLP actually did go to Jordan and pissed King Hussein off so bad that he just fucking murked thousands of them in one night in September in the 70s.
The Black September.
Yeah,
as it
Black
were.
September.
Here's another single panel one. It's from the Department.
That's why they have the steam sale now.
It's from the Department of Stupid Explanations.
Oh, good.
It's the man talking to the dog, and he's
gonna
saying to
take
the
someone
dog,
to task.
Abbas asked Israel to cut off Gaza's electricity. So we did.
Boom, got him.
Here's another thing that I don't get about Dry Bones. Does the dog ever interact with this old Ziggy, or is he
I
just
don't
look
know.
at
The
him?
dog never talks.
The dog is just so. This is
He's
a man.
just an
this
old-
is
I have an
literally old
explanation.
man
talking to a dog
Explanation.
about Israel Palestine.
Explana-
But the dog doesn't like talk to him like Garfield or anything.
This,
or no.
this represents American Jewish families who are like one of the like worst ones, like the Kushners type family, where all the kids are jockeying for inheritance so they can like make their hip hop themed restaurant in East New York with armed guards with fake bullet holes in the wall. And so they just stare at their shitty grandfather who like made a lot of money because he short sold the King David Hotel in 1948. They just stare at him until he's done talking, until he's done saying, well, if you marry a Jewish girl, you can have my boat. And but he's so used to just no interaction. Except for like, we love you, Grandpa, or like, Grandpa, I'm gonna, major in fucking Zionist math at Wesleyan.
You're getting such a window.
So this-
Yeah, that
American
he just
Jewish
forgets what it's
experience
like
today.
to talk to anyone. So he just talks to the dog about Jonathan Pollard, and it's the same experience as talking to all his grandkids that are all named Hunter and Jordan.
Well, it's a
My favorite thing about this one is that the dude drew the guy's eyes so close together that the two circles intertwine, so it looks like a Venn diagram.
Yeah.
And then he just said, fuck it, that's good enough.
Well, it's a missed opportunity because, fine, I get it that you're just trying to lecture people about Israel, but I don't know, you could like have another panel that's the dog doing something funny, something redeeming. Isn't that the premise of
Yeah,
cartoons?
it's the dog shooting flares at a flotilla in Gaza.
Well, I was thinking the dog would like eat the man's dinner while he's just like senile and talking to the television set.
That would be a great comic strip.
Yeah, that
It
would
was
be
just
hilarious.
The dog acting like a dog.
Yeah, but the problem is that this guy is supposed to be cool and smart and not someone that the dog is ignoring while he eats his hungry man.
The last one I have here I selected is it's about Bernie Sanders. It's called At the Seder, A Place for Everyone. Having seated the wise, the simple, and he who doesn't know to ask, Mr. Schuldig invites the wicked son, and he says, hey, Bernie.
Fuck you.
okay.
Fucking nailed him.
Well,
Fuck you, Bernie.
that does have the semblance of a joke.
That is kind of joke.
There is a
That's the
gag-
most-
That's
yeah.
actually clever.
There's
Yeah,
a
that's
gag
the most
there.
joke-esque
Yeah.
of the things he's put out here so far.
So the last piece of information about this guy, his name is Yaakov Kirschen, and he's got an Indiegogo called Help Fight Anti-Semitism with the Dry Bones cartoon.
I really wouldn't call that what Dry Bones is doing because you heard what I've been saying for this last
Yeah,
segment.
exactly.
It did not decrease
Yeah,
anti-Semitism.
I would say that, the amount of anti-Semitism that was spewed in just the last 20 minutes we've been talking is more than any amount of Hasbara he's done in his entire career.
Yeah, I like Sheldon Adelson's going to need like $3 billion to counteract what I just did.
He has raised $42,000, and he says his next step is to create an online Dry Bones Academy of cartoon advocacy and activism. We need to empower a next generation with the tools to speak out when impartial journalists remain silent. A next generation who will have the tools to speak out against the enemies of civilization who incite violence against Jews around the world while they rape, murder, and crucify Christians across the Middle East and Africa. And to do this, we'll need $100,000.
Yeah, I mean, like,
Yeah, that's pitched to the McMansion dipshits in suburban Dallas.
he got money though, and it's like, I see why. It's like the Dry Bones Academy for drawing cartoons, the Billy Joel Academy for driving.
The Center for Authentic Cartooning.
Yeah, the Eric Clapton Center for Windows Safety.
On this animation
all
here,
names associated.
here's the guy who makes the cartoons. Here's some incredibly old woman, and here's some
ancient.
very young, like
He's got
nice boy.
He's got dry bones.
It's a dry boy.
Best part about this is donations of $500 or more are tax deductible.
Why?
I don't know.
What the fuck?
Yes. Oh, if you want to support Dry Bones,
Why?
you will get a tax deduction.
What, does he have a disability or something? Like,
Yeah,
why?
wait a minute. Wait a minute. That sounds like a scam.
That sounds like we need to contact the government about this. I'm not in favor of calling police, but
You know
this
what
should
though?
not
If
be
we show
tax
Trump,
deductible.
if we show Trump the critical cartoons, he's going to get audited.
That's it for
that's
it for Dry Bones.
Moving on
guys.
from dry bones.
If you want to know what Niall Ferguson really believes, ooh, brother.
And the funny
I
thing-
got some world-class experience for you.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, even if that's true, like, oh, there's stuff that we don't say publicly. I could take a guess.
Yeah.
I could figure it out.
Yeah,
It's not that hard.
It's like the forbidden knowledge you get is either like colonialism was a net good, or like, did you know that Israel has the most per capita startups in the world?
Yeah. Oh man, you show up and it's just that old dude from CPAC with his fucking Thanos coins.
All right, I am going to their Airbnb then. I have unfinished business with that man.
Dry Bones will be teaching an art class.
Dude.
So what you do is you take Ziggy and you just make him sadder and more squashed. That's the first step.
Yeah.
I would love to talk to Dry Bones about like his comic strips every year that were like the anniversary of Jonathan Pollard sentencing, where it's just like the central dumpy character being like, please, Obama, free Jonathan Pollard from this injustice.
There we go. Barry Weiss's Bovine University. Moo.
World-class experiences, folks. Just like you can get at a cruise ship and a casino. I enjoy that part of it because it really does underline how now all these institutions are just, it's all the same deal. It's getting bored rich people to spend money standing around in a conference room somewhere. If you can get them to do that with either forbidden truths or the loosest slots in town or a dynamite seafood buffet, then you're set.
By the way, one of the frequently asked questions is, sounds great. How can I support you? Every dollar counts. You can support us financially by going to our Support Us page and clicking the Support Us and Join the Movement button. Then it says,
Christ.
I'm not rich, but I want to help. What can I do? We are grateful for a gift of any size.
Jesus Christ.
Give until it
me.
hurts.
You
Give it to
are
Barry
evil.
until it
You are
hurts.
an
God.
evil fucking woman.
Just
At least
grim.
like 10 guys on fixed incomes gave to your fucking Airbnb with slideshows. You fucking evil piece of shit. You are rotten.
I just love the idea of the I don't know. I'm gonna guess like maybe 5 undergrads like under the age of 60 that enroll in Bovine University. Like their first day, they're like, oh boy. They're like, welcome to the University of Austin, Texas, the home of Elon Musk and Joe Rogan. Hands shoot up in the back. Will we get to meet Elon Musk and Joe Rogan? No, you won't.
Of course not.
You're Steven Pinker via a Zoom call.
This is anti-woke Camp Krusty. This is so rotten. I hate her. She's so awful. Dude. Fuck me. I'm just so sad thinking about like the people that donated. Like just someone's like loser dad just being like, I'll help you, Barry. And he sends like $65. And he's like, I can just eat rice for the rest of the month. That's so depressing. For this thing that's like never going to exist. It's never going to be like an actual like place. I hate this. She's rotten. It's like at least Rod like obviously feels bad about himself. At least like Rod and Ross are like at the end of the day when they close their eyes at night, they're like, oh, I'm like God's little worm. I'm in pain. But she writes this and like gets all these like orny boomers to like send them their social security checks, and she's like, I'm a good person. Damn, you're awful.
I like our friend Stefan Heck pointed this out, but like when she announced it on Twitter, she was just like, we got tired of complaining about the campus environment today, and it's like, no, you're not.
You did not.
You were doing that the
You
rest of
founded
your
this
life.
university to complain more.
Yeah, that's what
are
the
you talking
forbidden
about?
knowledge is. You
Yeah.
get in there and it's just them going like, can you believe what they're doing? Can you believe what they're up to? Yes, I can. It's all you talk about.
And by the way, By the way, I'm also indigenous to the Middle East.
Yeah. All identity politics is bullshit except for one very specific kind.
If this does end up being, I mean, it's obviously not going to be a real college with a fucking campus.
No.
And when it doesn't happen, they can blame the woke people for undermining it, or like this, they didn't want you to know, or whatever. But if anything comes out of this, it will be probably some PragerU YouTube bullshit.
Yes.
Like a master class on like the bell curve.
At least PragerU, you can watch those videos for free.
Yeah.
And
you'll have to pay for sure.
Yeah,
like Masterclass, you got to subscribe. And then Niall Ferguson, it'll be like the history of the British Empire with Niall Ferguson, where he just talks about how it was epic. And Barry Weiss just like going through like all of the campus like clubs and the Ivy League and just reading them out while steam shoots out of her ears. It'd be really great stuff. Forbidden knowledge.
Robert Zimmer, former head of U Chicago, will teach you how to get pussy. A special joke for people familiar with U Chicago lore.
Jonathan Pollard. He's got a fat pension in Israel too.
So they would cough him up, send him back. Send him back to fucking jail.
Just send a SEAL Team 6 to just swipe his ass. Like bag him and then zip him up on a helicopter and get him out of it.
A Navy SEAL ice cream truck.
He was those are my favorite comic strips of all time.
The Dry Bones?
Yeah, Dry Bones, the Zionist webcomic, where it would just like there are like 20 comics where there's no joke. It's just the main character of Dry Bones, which is just like a 50-year-old bald Jewish guy going, "Please, Obama, free Jonathan Pollard."
He hates Mondays.
Yeah.
It would be anything that would make the Dry Bones guy like do a suicide bombing or something would be worth trying, I think.
All right, and then finally, this is Brett Stevens. He's not talking about Israel, but he is turning in this column, "What I learned in Ukraine." So you're in for some good shit here. He says here, last week, a friend asked me what I could learn from a 4-day trip to Ukraine I was planning that I couldn't glean just by reading the news. It was a fair question. With the trip now behind me, I can answer. I learned that Ukrainians have no interest in turning their victimization into an identity. I learned that for all the aid we've given Ukraine, we are the true beneficiaries in the relationship, and they are the true benefactors. Ben Wallace, Britain's usually thoughtful defense minister, suggested, he moved on from the Pistons, I guess. Well, good, still playing defense. Suggested after this month's NATO summit that Ukrainians should show more gratitude to their arms suppliers. That gets the relationship backward. NATO countries are paying for their long-term security in money, which is cheap, and munitions, which are replaceable. Ukrainians are counting their costs in lives and limbs lost. Is our Brett Stevens learning? I mean, I don't know what to say about that. They're definitely getting the better deal of this fucking bargain.
Do you know we're in the Wikipedia article for Dry Bones?
Really?
Yeah.
What does it say?
I'm surprised Dry Bones has a Wikipedia article, but we're really just the entire criticism section.
We're the only people who've ever criticized it.
Yeah,
because it's that good.
Yeah, it's one sentence. The comic strip was criticized in an episode of the podcast Chapo Trap House for its alleged poor quality and racist undertones.
It's alleged poor quality? You could say alleged racist undertones, but I mean, look at that.
He can't be bothered to have two circles for the two eyes on the guy. It's a Venn diagram. It sucks.
Oh, please, once again, to be joined by Catherine for this episode. You're getting a double shot of Kath this week.
Hello, haters. Hello, I'm back.
No, lovers only.
Lovers and haters.
On today's episode, we've got another extraordinary piece of Amazon streaming slop for you to break down. It's the new Amazon movie G20. But before we get to that, some important news that we need to talk about, a couple news items we need to get to. Beginning first with, we have to acknowledge at the top of the show, the passing of a great one. Probably, I said without any exaggeration, I think the finest Israeli artist who's ever lived. That is the dry, trenchant wit of the dry political satirist and cartoonist Dry Bones.
Rest in power.
I don't think like just greatest Israeli artist. I mean, that's obvious. I think the greatest artist since the American Civil War.
Wow.
At least. Right,
Yeah.
like I'm just being cautious there. I obviously think
To say
since
the greatest art of the
Renaissance-
20th century might be like not containing the greatness of Dry Bones.
Yeah, like what do you say about a guy who inspired the creators of Berserk, Akira, Miyazaki, of course, both Miyazaki's, both the FromSoft one and the Spirited Away guy. Keith Haring,
Yep.
Basquiat.
Jean-Michel Basquiat.
Jackson Pollock,
Yep.
Yeah.
Warhol, obviously.
What do you say about a giant like that? Except I have not forgotten Jonathan Pollard.
Felix, the funny thing is that Dry Bones did live a long enough time to see Jonathan Pollard released to Israel.
Yeah, and I expected, me and all the... Look, this doesn't change my politics. I still want to drop a... on Aviv. But I can separate the art from the art. Like, I still think Dry Bones is a genius. I just think he's a fucking genius. And it's like... I mean, it's not even that I'm comparing him to Leni Riefenstahl. It's like she would be compared to him, and she would probably say the same thing. But when he was released, we at least expected like a conclusion to the storyline. But there wasn't really there was some acknowledgement of it, but there wasn't like a big a follow up to his trademark, the trademark format he invented, where a guy wearing a stupid outfit just says, "It seems that everyone's forgotten about Jonathan Pollard except all the Jews in the world." For four panels, we thought we would see a follow up to that storyline, and we did not. But that's what makes him such a great artist. You know how David Chase said, "Well, I don't resolve every storyline because that's what life is like. Threads aren't always closed." He said that he learned that from reading Dry Bones, and specifically the Jonathan Pollard storyline.
I was making Will I wasn't familiar with his game, and so I was giving Will the monumental task of just describing what his thing is, some of which is not appropriate for the pod.
Well, his thing is beautifully drawn images, just beautifully rendered portraits.
No, that much is obvious.
Of Dry Bones himself, or a Hamas terrorist. I mean, I'm looking at a classic Dry Bones right here, where it's two sort of squiggly head figures. One is reading a newspaper saying to the other, "Egyptian exports to Israel are increasing daily." The other figure says, "That's nice." The guy reading the newspaper says, "Not really. What they're exporting to Israel is a flood of their unwanted African migrants."
Right, and we don't agree with that with Dry Bones' vociferous racial superiority complex. But you have to admit that's like a great joke. That's one of the best jokes I've ever heard.
So is it kind of work?
The art is beautiful.
Is it kind of it strikes me as like Israeli Kathy? Like it's like
Muslims,
African migrants, Muslims, Arabs.
This chocolate is trafe.
It's the same format as Kathy, because Kathy is always like at a desk talking to like a dog, or like Kathy's like sort of busted friend that she keeps around, which I always thought was
which unfortunately is really saying something.
Kathy.
Yeah, women.
The real woman who drew Kathy was very pretty, and I always thought it was we should kind of talk of her like Al Jolson. Because that's what she was doing.
Go on.
She was wearing a minstrel costume.
She was wearing ugly face.
Middling women.
Yeah.
But I mean, Felix, it was years ago that we did a whole episode on conservative cartoons, of which Dry Bones was like really the centerpiece of. And I just I was going back through some of the classics, and I was just looking at all of his great work. This is a body of work that will live forever. And 90% of it is about Jonathan Pollard, which people may forget is a guy who was convicted of selling the Navy nuclear secrets to Israel. And Dry Bones hails him as a hero of Israel, who did this for Israel. But Israel was merely the highest bidder buying the secrets he stole, and also on the list of potential clients were Pakistan and Iran.
Wow.
Pollard was like an A-tier scumbag, and when he got caught, he was like, "I'm actually a devout Jew, and I'm doing this for Israel," even though he was just just total free for all, to whoever would buy them. And it worked too. And actually, Dry Bones, I think he's an interesting case study of like a sort of the progression of the Ashkenazi liberal in Israel. Because when Dry Bones started, one of his first things he did, and one of his first controversies, was that he like vociferously criticized the massacres in Sabra and Shatila. And he was at one point sort of like against the occupation of the West Bank, but like just it takes a little bit of time and it's indistinguishable from the fucking Turner Diaries. but after Sabra and Shatila, the only other time that he like really criticized Israel as an entity, not just like individual Israeli politicians for like, whatever they did during the Good Morning Party's bus ticket controversy in 1997 was when he basically accused Mossad of leaving Pollard out to dry.
Yeah. And it's just like, it's like all the Jonathan Pollard stuff is so odd to me because like, he seems to be implying that doing treason against the United States is fine as long as you're Israeli. And then like, but also like, wouldn't have America just given those nuclear secrets to Israel anyway?
That was my point.
Yeah.
Well, at that point, maybe. I mean, like if this happened now, we would like apologize to Israel.
Yeah.
We would be like, here's like 12 innocent Americans you can execute as like to make up for the rogue FBI agent that arrested this fucking scumbag. The hotel owner from season 1 of The Sopranos who was selling nuclear secrets to everyone.
DC law firms would have to represent them pro bono.
Yeah, back then you had to at least maintain the appearance of propriety. And there were actually, this was like during a 15-year rash of like very goofy Israeli espionage crimes. Do you remember the guy in Jim McGreevy's office?
Yeah.
Yeah, governor of New Jersey.
I feel like, son, I know you saw the clip from just like last week or whatever of Jonathan Pollard hanging out with Money Mayweather on Team Money.
Oh, yeah, this was last year. I can't believe I missed this. This was in like November of last year. And it's like it's not very surprising for Mayweather to make that appearance because he's been doing a lot of SpawnCon for Saudi Arabia and the UAE. And, what's the next logical step after that? But whose idea was it to have him meet Pollard? That's such a weird meeting of people. I guess they're both about the dollar.
Getting money.
Yeah.
Getting money.
Money.
They each did a money spread. Like Mayweather's like, this is what I got from Saudi Arabia. And Jonathan Pollard's like, this is what I got from selling nuclear missile information to Pakistan.
Yeah. Pollard is really funny because he's like, obviously he was just like a scumbag before. And the devout Zionism and Judaism was like something he leaned into once he got caught. But after he got released, he kind of had to like lean into that. So he moved to Israel, obviously, and he had to marry he did the thing that Joe Lieberman did where he's like, my wife isn't Jewish enough, and like divorces his regular wife. And he's like, I've married some bitch named Heragabubga. So he has to do that and wear like a gross shirt all day to be able to like get a pension from the Israeli government. And I wouldn't say I feel bad for him, but I don't know. I kind of like look into his eyes and I see the scumbag inside. And it's like, you don't want to be doing that. Like, you hate.
I would rather serve out the prison term than be sentenced to live out my life in Israel.
Well, I mean, Felix, what you said about like Dry Bones thing is that the Mossad, they turned their backs on Pollard. Well, it's just like, if he was their agent, like being like a pipeline for stolen classified information for the United States government, and then he got arrested for that, it's sort of like that's the rules of the game.
That's how intelligence works.
Like,
yeah. That's not.
Well, like, who's expecting the Mossad to just pipe up and be like, "Oh yeah, that was our guy. We ordered him to steal all those classified secrets from the U.S. Navy."
Yeah, that's the deal with being a spy: is you get to like steal as many weapons and deal as many drugs and kill as many people as possible. But like, if you get caught, they have to pretend they don't know you.
Right.
Like, that's the entire deal. This would be the first guy in history where it's like, we don't disavow him.
We claim him. Yeah, that was us.
Claim him, y'all.
Well, rest in power, Dry Bones.
Mm-hmm.
Truly one of the greats.
Again, we don't agree. Like, obviously, we disagree with the stance on Pollard and just about everything. But like, you can just look at the art for yourself.
Yeah. Sometimes someone is like, there are certain artists who like their work is so powerful and meaningful to me that there's literally no political opinion that they could have that would make me not claim them. as a great artist, and Dry Bones certainly is in that category.
Do you know what Tub Girl did in the war? I don't care. I don't care. She still made an amazing image. Not everyone can be like the Goatsy guy and make great art and be a great person.
And also be socialists.
Yeah. Goatsy is socialist.
It is.
And let's not even get into the politics of Jim Davis, the creator of Garfield. I mean, we were talking about this last night, Catherine and I, and I was trying to explain Dry Bones to her. And by way of comparison, I was like, Garfield is a social fascist that greased the wheels for our current deportation regime by sort of acclimating society to sending people to Abu Dhabi.
Yeah.
Free from due process or
he's
legal
capitalistic,
recourse.
he's individualistic, he's anti-solidarity, whereas Snoopy's just a vibe guy, like
No. Snoopy glorifies German Prussian imperialism in the Red Baron.
Well,
yeah. I mean, like,
don't
Garfield
be your heroes.
Garfield is a paid running dog of the GCC, of the Gulf Cooperation Council. I mean, we've talked, I think, a bunch of times about the infamous strip where John drinks dog cum.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was Jim Davis did that to like change the conversation. Like he's a master of deception because the previous strip was just. It was just Garfield and Liz staring into the camera, if there was a camera, and just going, Ansar Allah has kept slaves for the last 5 years of the Yemeni Civil War. That's where that, Houthis have slaves things come from, is Garfield.
Ansar Allah are dogs like Odie. Disgusting dogs like Odie. All right, so rest in power, Dry Bones. It's always sad when like someone in so deeply enmeshed in the Chapo canon crosses the river to the other
Is
side.
Baseball Crank still kicking? He's old. right?
Baseball Crank's still around. Oh yeah. Oh my God.
I mean, like
Catherine, say Cap, please.
Yeah.
Baseball Crank.
Sorry.
He's very much alive and kicking.
I can't wait to do the podcast with Adam 22 and Keemstar when Baseball Crank dies. Baseball Crank actually helped me a lot during controversy.
He told me it's okay to be weird.
What people accuse you of is what they're afraid they did themselves.
Are we bringing Mr. Met to play an acoustic guitar cover of Wonderwall or something?
No, Baseball Crank is old, but I think he's 25 to 30 years younger than Dry Bones.
Yeah.
Well, one thing you cannot say about Dry Bones is that he went young because I believe he was
87.
Very old.
Wow, only the good die young.
Yeah. And he was described by the Jerusalem Post as, quote, a national treasure.
Agreed. No, agreed. Name a better Israeli artist.
Yeah.
No, exactly. Or one that more accurately captures
the soul of the nation.
The soul of a people.
Yeah.
All right. Well, moving on from dead cartoonists, let's talk about health in America, because I did want to mention briefly the.